Well, hello again, and welcome to this next in our RSSL series of podcasts on auditing. And I'm delighted to welcome Sue Mann, my co-tutor on the PR325 GMP Pharmaceutical Quality Systems Lead Auditor course. It's day 4. We've had a busy week with some fun exercises and worked a lot on the ISO auditing standards. So, Sue, what's been your reflection on the course this week?
I think it's great to have a GMP PQS focused, recognised auditing course, really approved by IRCA, and leading to an internationally recognised auditing standard and certification for the delegates, because GMPs are very product quality and patient safety focused, and rightly so, of course, we all understand that. But they require us to audit, and of course we do lots of audits, whether those be internal or external. But there's nothing, when you look in the GMPs, telling us how to audit.
That's right.
And so actually using an ISO standard on auditing is brilliant, because it is going through a stepwise process, covering the whole life cycle of actually carrying out an audit, from the preparation and planning, which we learn, or perhaps we improve that process for a lot of the delegates who maybe haven't done as much of that before, through to the execution of the audit, writing up the report, and of course the follow-up. And it also links it into ICHQ 10, which I think is really important, because that takes it beyond the GMPs. So GMPs are great as far as they go, but the scope is around product quality and patient safety. ICHQ 10 is much more holistic.
That's an interesting point, and it's the feedback we've got, particularly this week from our delegates, is, gosh, it's so hard to audit against ICHQ 10. I'm usually in the deep depths of chapters 1 to 9. I can go to documentation, I can go to a particular clause, and I can see the non-conformance in front of me. One of the delegates this week said, ICHQ 10, it's more principle based. So how do you get a non-conformance? How do you provide a non-conformance? Or how do you give a non-conformance to an auditee when it's sometimes nebulous?
Mm-hmm. And that's right. And ICHQ 10, we think of it being parts of it being extracted from ICHQ 10 going into chapter 1 of part 1 of the GMP guide. But of course, there's a lot more to ICHQ 10. So what I think is great about this course is that we do lots of exercises. We can practice different parts of this audit life cycle, the audit process life cycle, using that ISO standard, but actually against ICHQ 10. So they get plenty of time to practice in a safe environment.
Yes.
They're not auditing at the time. They're not out with a company or internally feeling slightly embarrassed. It's a great learning environment, because even if the individual is not talking at the time, then the others are listening in, and so they're getting the learning as well. And as tutors, we give the feedback to those delegates as well to help them on this process.
That's really interesting observation, actually, or reflection, because I've seen the delegates this week really struggling. They're really so focused on the product quality itself, and when they do their audit prep and they do an opening meeting and they say, yes, we're going to audit against ICHQ 10 and GMP. And then they do the stage 2, the field work, and they're still looking right down on the blister packing line, etc. When ICHQ 10 has been brought in really support to say, look at the management framework. That's where I think the marriage from ISO to ICHQ 10 works really well, because a lot of the times, and the delegates are finding in the exercises that we run, a lot of the problems are within management commitment, management review, management visibility, risk assessment, proactive risk assessment, as in ICHQ 9.
Yeah.
The product is being made fine.
Yes, but it's what's supporting it, isn't it? And you know that what is so good about this course is it brings in this ISO standard for auditing. It marries that with ICH Q10,
Yeah.
supported by ICH Q9, possibly less so ICH Q8, although we know that there's the three of them go together for the whole life cycle of the product.
Yeah.
But then also the GMPs as well. So it really gets the delegates to think about things from another angle, and I think about things more holistically, so they can really help an organisation, whether it be theirs or be an external organisation, because they're looking at that underlying management. It's the foundation, isn't it? It's the structure. It's the organisation behind some of the detail of the GMPs that we apply.
And the core element, the core standard of this training course is the ISO standard on auditing. How do you think, from your observation, how have what has been the delegates' journey this week in that revelation that, actually, there is actually a standard?
Yeah, and I think for some of them, they hardly knew it existed beforehand, before they joined on this course, and obviously they did some pre-course work as well. But it is, I think, quite a revelation to them, quite something that I think some of them now appreciate. Well, all of them are now appreciate the power of it, the usefulness of it, because it follows this stepwise process to help with the planning and the preparation of an audit, to then decide actually whether I do actually go out and carry out the on-site audit, if I can call it that, the field work.
Yeah.
And also, the importance of good preparation, good planning.
You said before that GMP doesn't define a standard for auditing. It requires you to conduct audits and self-inspections and external audits and suppliers. And it's interesting, even though we give the delegates pre-work to read the ISO standard, when they come on the Monday morning, it shows me that just reading a standard doesn't mean you can actually apply the standard.
Absolutely. And what the course shows is as they learn, and we can see each individual delegate kind of develop and flourish through the week, is that reading it is one thing, and we can all read and we think we've understood something, but it's not until you actually put it into practice and you actually do some exercises where you take different sections of it, you use it, you refer back to it, you realize that there is a standard or is detail to help you, and it's all designed to help you to go through that audit life cycle in a very logical, very stepwise, stage-wise process. And it is a brilliant standard, but it's not really that widely used in the pharma industry.
No, it's quite amazing, really. And every delegate that comes on our courses says it's been a journey, and you can see them on day one where they're struggling to really say, to work a different way, to more logical, more approach. And the ISO standard on auditing has got this real amount of detail, and they start to read it and they go, this is actually telling me how to do it properly.
Yes. And of course, you can see some people, I was going to say fighting against that, in the sense that it takes more time.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about doing more preparation. But remember when ICH Q9 came in, some of us are old enough to say, well, we always used to do risk assessments but we thought about it. We didn't write that much down. And what this does is really allow you to go through things in a very logical but very comprehensive way, so that you really plan and prepare for an audit. You're then absolutely got all the tools in the toolkit for when you go out to do the audit. Therefore, your audit on site can be much more efficient and effective. And when you come to do the closeout meeting, for example, just to pick up another aspect of it, then you are in a much better position to actually define where you found the non-conformances.
Yeah.
Because you've done, and it all goes all back to the preparation and the planning.
Well, that comes to that catch-22 where people who apply to come on this course say, I need to audit, but it's high risk me audit and learning while I'm auditing, because I've got an auditee in front of me, and I'm really worried about that. So this course gives us a safe harbour learning environment.
Absolutely. And I think, all the delegates, they each have a different learning journey, depending on their background, their experience, and to a certain extent, the actual characteristics of the person and their attributes. But it is a completely safe environment. Everyone is very supportive of each other, and everyone kind of goes through a common learning journey, I guess, through the week. And I think it's brilliant in that respect, because we spend a lot of time doing a lot of exercises that really home in on developing the skills that they need to carry out effective audits.
Yeah. So who should come on this course?
Good question. The obvious answer is, anyone who's wanting to become an auditor, because that would be the best way of doing it, because we do all this learning first of all, of this practicing in a safe environment before you actually go out and do any audits. But I actually think for those people already auditing, but that have come through, dare I say, a GMP background and not really use the ISO standard, maybe not aware of it, that this would enhance their auditing. And their auditing skills. I think that on top of that, whether we're talking about quality, QPs, trainee QPs, I think this is a fantastic way of, again, maximising the benefit of any audit you carry out, but also having the confidence around the auditor's skills of your fellow colleagues that may not be QPs, but they're QA or other departments in your company who are perhaps going out to do supplier or outsourced company audits, second party audits.
It's a really interesting point you raise about the role of the QP, because Annex 16 requires the QP to be knowledgeable of the pharmaceutical system and the data which verifies that it is working as intended to enable you to do batch release. And is it 1.7 that says that reliance on other people doing the work must be well founded?
And that's interesting, because how we have interpreted that is, give me a copy of the CV of the auditor if I don't know them. Let me see the agenda to make sure the scope of the audit is covering what I believe it should cover. The really important bit that we miss out on is, the CV of the person might suggest they have the technical knowledge about that dosage form or that activity that person's going to audit. It doesn't actually say they're a competent auditor.
No, and that's what the ISO standard says, is that you must be a competent auditor. And there's another really important role in the ISO standard that talks about the individual responsible for managing the audit program. That isn't the QP, it isn't the QA manager, it's the senior management representative that ensures that we've got an end-to-end accounting. And the QP needs to influence themselves into the setting of that annual agenda to make sure that their product release, their certification, their compliance or assurance of 16 is visible through data.
That's right. And they have that opportunity to influence upwards. To make sure that the structure and the program is set appropriately, and then of course executed as per, ideally as per the ISO standard, so that we know we've got technical but also competent auditors, as in auditing skills, not just the technical knowledge, and therefore we maximise the benefit of any auditing program we've got.
No, absolutely. Well, it's certainly a fun. Every time we run this course, we get different experiences ourselves, and we sort of have our own learning experiences. And I guess it's just such fun to pay it forward and pay our experiences and tell our stories and our experiences of auditing.
Absolutely. And as tutors, of course, we're not only got rather a lot of number of years in the industry between us. We won't add them up. It's probably a scary number. But also, of course, we are tutors that are approved by OCA. Which is important again.
They set a high bar not only for the delegate attendance, but in us as lecturers as well. So, well, I'm looking forward to our next adventure in auditing together in tutors, and I hope that has been interesting to our listeners. This is part of a series of podcasts that we're doing on auditing in general. So listen in for the next episode, and we'll catch you later.
Thank you very much.